Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Lee. I'm currently a graduate student pursuing a Master's of Engineering in Systems Engineering from Cornell University, but I'm also a captain in the U.S. Army, a jump master, and currently stationed at the 82nd Airborne Division in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. What I'm going to talk to you about today are some of the reasons why the U.S. Army transitioned from the T-10 Delta parachute to the T-11 parachute as the main conventional static line parachute used by the U.S. Army. But before we go into that, we're going to go over a brief history of Army airborne operations. Army airborne operations gained their fame in the 1940s with World War II and the Normandy operation. However, in addition to Normandy, there were 4 other major airborne assaults that took place in World War II: Sicily, Salerno, Holland, and Germany, as well as multiple since then, including the 1989 seizure of Panama and the 2006 seizure of Mosul, Iraq. Now, the airborne community gives the U.S. Army a unique capability to deploy a battalion to a brigade-sized element anywhere in the world between 18 and 96 hours. This capability is one that the Army wants to continue, so they've put a lot of money into investing for a new, safer parachute. Now, both of these parachutes behind me can be delivered from a variety of systems, primarily from the U.S. Air Force, the C-130 and the C-17 Globemaster, but they can also be delivered from the U.S. Army helicopters, CH-47 Chinook, and the UH-60 Blackhawk. Now, the T-10 Delta parachute was developed in the mid-1950s and has undergone a variety of changes, but it is still used today for all supply and heavy operations, both in combat and in training. Now, this parachute can support about 360 pounds of suspended weight, and that includes the paratrooper and his individual items of equipment. Now, this paratrooper will descend at an average rate of around 23 feet per second. During a recent study, the Army found out that there were approximately 9.1 injuries for every 1,000 jumps. Most of these injuries were lower leg injuries: broken ankles, hurt legs, hurt knees, hurt backs, as well as some minor concussions, and these were all as a result of landing. With the T-10 Delta parachute, it was understood in the airborne community that your parachute would always open no matter what. It would just be the landing that you would have to worry about. So they stressed on proper performance, exiting a parachute landing fall, as well as making sure that you understood how to lower your equipment and maintain all of your combat situational awareness. Now, with this parachute, you saw about a 1% attrition rate during the joint forcible entry period of any mission. So the Army saw this number and wanted to reduce the number of injuries sustained, so they developed the T-11 parachute. As you can see behind me, the T-11 parachute is square and significantly larger than the T-10 Delta parachute. This larger space resulted in a higher suspended weight. It can sustain about 425 pounds, and it reduced the average rate of descent from 23 feet per second to 19 feet per second. Landing is no longer an issue with this parachute. The biggest issue with this parachute is now the exit from the aircraft. In order to ensure that your parachute opens successfully, you have to have a vigorous and confident exit from the aircraft. This is a result of the longer opening sequence. With the T-10 parachute, it was a 4-second opening sequence. With the T-11, it is a 6-second opening sequence. So they want to make sure that you are exiting properly to ensure that this parachute has enough time to properly inflate. Now, both of these parachutes were used and will be used for a very long time, and they will continue to support the Army and its paratroopers for the foreseeable future. I'm prepared at this point to take any of your questions. Thank you for listening.